T0B, antenna installation, tower safety, overhead power lines. When should members of a tower work team wear a hard hat and safety glasses? That's at all time when any work is being done on the tower. If you drop a bolt off a tower and it hits somebody on the bare head, it can do some fairly serious damage, or especially the eyes, as you can imagine. So when you're working around a tower, you should always wear a hard hat and safety glasses. What's a good precaution to observe before climbing an antenna tower? Put on a climbing harness and safety glasses. Safety glasses are because you're going to be working with cables and that sort of thing up there. The end could whip around and get you in the eye. Under what circumstances is it safe to climb a tower without a helper or observer? Never. It's never safe to climb a tower without a helper or observer. You need somebody who can dial 911. Okay? Which of the following is an important safety precaution to observe when putting up an antenna tower? You need to look for and stay clear of any overhead electrical wires. Keep it away from the electrical wires. What is the purpose of a gin pole? This is a gin pole here. This is a kind of a demonstration one. It's not long enough to be a practical one. And what it does, it clamps on the tower leg like this. And then you can run a rope over a pulley. There's a pulley up here in the top end. Okay, and your people on the ground can operate the rope down there. You can be up on the tower, and this can lift things up. And here's a picture of a guy using a gin pole to assemble a tower. Here you see the gin pole up above the top of the tower. Here he's lifting up the next section. People on the ground are pulling it up, and then he's going to be able to stand that on top of that tower section there that he's standing on and fit those together and bolt them together. So the gin pole acts like a crane for lifting pieces up the tower and also for lifting up the antennas when he gets to that point. What's the minimum safe distance from a power line to allow when installing an antenna? You should be far enough away from the power line so that if the antenna falls unexpectedly, no part of it can come closer than 10 feet to the power wires. Okay, an unexpected fall should fall no closer than 10 feet to the power wires. Okay, which of the following is an important safety rule to remember when using a crank-up tower? This is a photo of my tower. It's a crank-up type tower. And if you look here, you can see this section is large and this section is slightly smaller. It's made to fit inside the lower section. Okay? And then this next one is slightly smaller and it's made to fit inside this section. And then this one fits inside. I have 5 sections on my tower, and they all telescope together. Okay? And when I get everything the way I want it up on top, then I have a winch that I can turn to crank that tower up to its full height, which is really nice because I can do my antenna work from the top of a ladder instead of having to climb the tower. Okay? But this type of tower must never be climbed unless it's in the fully retracted position. And the reason is that if I climb up this tower part way, and it decides that it's going to telescope, the only thing holding that tower up is the cable and the winch that I pulled it up with. And if I get up here and the cable says, "Up, I've had enough," then it's going to try to stuff my fingers and toes into that next tower section down as it collapses. So you don't ever climb one of those unless it's fully retracted. What is considered to be a proper grounding method for a tower? You should have separate 8-foot-long ground rods for each tower leg bonded to the tower and to each other. So each of the 3 legs of the tower has its own ground rod, and then you bond that to the tower, and then you bond all 3 of the ground rods to each other. And by bonding, it means wiring it together with heavy gauge wiring. Why should you avoid attaching an antenna to a utility pole? The antenna could contact high voltage power wires if you did that. Also, the power company doesn't like you putting anything on their poles. Sure. Which of the following is true concerning grounding conductors used for lightning protection? Sharp bends must be avoided. If you have a sharp bend in your grounding system and you take a lightning strike, the lightning, instead of following the wire, could jump right off the sharp bend and go where you're trying to keep it from going. So you should avoid sharp bends in your grounding conductors. Which of the following establishes grounding requirements for an amateur radio tower or antenna? That's the local electrical codes. Your electrical codes determine the grounding requirements. And when you get a permit to put up a tower, if you do that, they will probably have the electrical people at the county take a look at your grounding plan for it.